All right, so today we're jumping into a huge moment. A story you probably know, but maybe not like this. We're talking about a shepherd, a burning bush, and this mission that basically changed everything. Let's get right into it.
So this is really the big question, right? How does a guy who's basically in hiding, a shepherd out in the middle of nowhere, suddenly become the person who's going to liberate an entire nation? I mean, think about that leap from total obscurity to facing down the most powerful man alive. Where does a transformation like that even start?
Well, it definitely didn't happen overnight. To really get it, we've got to rewind. Because this whole thing kicks off after a long stretch of, well, quiet. 40 years. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how long Moses was out in Midian, totally removed from his old life in Egypt. Can you imagine? 4 decades? This wasn't a time for big, heroic deeds. It was a holding pattern, the deep breath before the plunge.
So you've got these two things happening at the exact same time, like a split screen. On one side, there's Moses, just living this quiet, solitary shepherd's life, leading his flock out to this mountain. But on the other side, his people are back in Egypt, and they're suffering badly. Their cries for help are so loud, they reach God. And God, it says, remembers this ancient promise, this covenant. You can just feel these two separate stories about to crash into each other. And it's right there, on that mountain, Horeb, that everything shifts. This is the moment. Something happens that just makes no sense, and it's going to change everything. Not just for the shepherd, but for everyone. So try to put yourself there. You see a fire out in the desert. Okay, not that weird. But then you look closer. This fire, it's not actually burning anything. The bush is completely on fire, but it's not being consumed. It's not turning to ash. It's just glowing. That's not just weird, it's impossible. Moses knows he's got to check this out. He calls it a great sight, and he's not wrong.
And this wasn't just for show, you know? This whole scene is loaded with meaning. The fire itself is meant to represent this incredibly pure, powerful, divine holiness. So what about the bush? The fact that this ordinary, fragile bush isn't getting destroyed by this holy fire, that's the real message. It's a picture of what's happening in Egypt. Israel is in the fire of affliction, but just like this bush, they won't be consumed. They're going to be preserved.
So as Moses gets closer, the first thing he's told isn't go do this epic thing. Nope, the first command is about reverence. He's told to take off his shoes. This is the moment he realizes, okay, this isn't just some weird trick of the light. He's just walked onto sacred ground. It's like the barrier between heaven and earth has thinned out right there.
But why the shoes? Well, in that part of the world, at that time, taking off your shoes was a huge sign of humility, of respect. It was like saying, I know this ground is holy, not because it's a special place, but because you are here. And this isn't the only time we see this, by the way. His successor, Joshua, gets the exact same command later on. It's a big deal. Okay, so the stage is set, the respect has been shown, and now the conversation gets to the real reason this is all happening, the mission. And we get this very, very human reaction of, uh-oh. And boom, there it is, the job offer. After 40 years of just minding his own business with a flock of sheep, God tells him, all right, I'm sending you to Pharaoh. To Pharaoh, the most powerful man on the planet. And he's supposed to demand that Pharaoh let an entire nation of slaves just walk away? I mean, can you imagine hearing that? It's just staggering. And Moses' reaction is so fast and so relatable. He doesn't argue about the plan. He doesn't say, Pharaoh will never go for that. He looks inward. He just asks, who am I? Think about it. I'm a shepherd, a wanted man, a fugitive from Egypt. I'm a nobody. Why in the world would you pick me for this?
And this right here is such a key moment. Look at the contrast. Moses is stuck looking at himself, at all his flaws, asking, who am I? But God's answer completely flips the script. It's not about Moses' qualifications at all. The answer is, it doesn't matter who you are because I will be with you.
See how the focus just snaps from the person going to the one who is sending? That changes everything.
But, Moses is still human. He's thinking ahead. He's like, okay, but when I go to my people and eventually to Pharaoh, I need something solid to stand on, an anchor. And that's what leads to maybe the biggest reveal of all. He asks for a name, and what he gets is, I am that I am. Now, that's not a name like Bob or Steve. It's way deeper. It's a description of being itself. It means the one who just is, the one who doesn't depend on anything else to exist, the one who was and is and always will be. It's like being given the ultimate source of all power and reality.
And that really brings it all home. This is the big lesson from that whole experience at the bush. The mission was never, ever going to be about Moses' abilities. It was always about the presence of the great I am. Once he got that, once that mental switch flipped, everything changed for him. So that kind of leaves us with a final question, doesn't it? If the real key to doing something huge isn't about our skill or our talent, but about being connected to a greater presence, well, what does that change for us? How does that change the way we look at the impossible stuff in our own lives? Something to chew on.